Welcome to Healthy Living. I'm Lori Johnson. Thanks for joining us today. Our topic is Alzheimer's disease and the wonderful news about Alzheimer's disease. We don't often say that, but it is because now there are proven ways to prevent Alzheimer's disease, dementia, and other cognitive decline, and then also, in many cases, reverse the symptoms. Dr. Colbert is our guest, Dr. Don Colbert, and he wrote the book, Dr. Colbert's Healthy Brain Zone, Reverse Memory Loss and Reduce Your Risk of Dementia and Alzheimer's. Wonderful to see you. Thanks for being here.
Great seeing you, sure.
So this is fantastic news. For so long, a lot of people thought there's nothing we can do about Alzheimer's. We don't know who it's going to strike or why or when. And so you just pray that you don't get it. But now the great news is we do know why people get Alzheimer's. And there's so much that we can do to prevent that happening to us and our loved ones.
Absolutely right. And I love what the Bible says in Galatians 6, 7, and 8. It says, "Be not deceived. God is not mocked. Whatsoever seed you sow, that shall you also reap." And again, unfortunately, so many people are sowing the wrong seeds. And one seed we have no choice in is if we have the Alzheimer's gene. And 1/4 of this population has the Alzheimer's gene. And unfortunately, those people are at a much higher risk. And so on anyone that has any memory loss, I encourage them to ask their doctors to check them for the Alzheimer's gene, the ApoE gene test, as well as the homocysteine level. But I have a battery of tests I check. And if they have that Alzheimer's gene, that's like the switch that has already been flipped. And it's just a matter of time before they start to struggle. Their brain starts to struggle. And so it's critical that we get them help right away because there's key nutrients they need. And especially lowering that homocysteine level is so important.
So the ApoE gene, there's either ApoE3 or ApoE4, and you can have either ApoE4, both of them, ApoE3, both of them, or 1 and 1.
Correct.
And the ApoE4 is the one that we really wish that we wouldn't have.
That's the real bad one. Yes, that's the one that, especially after age 50, when those hormones crash, that's when the symptoms come. But those people are usually protected up until age 50. And when the estrogen takes a nosedive and bottoms out at age 50 to 52 in women, or when the testosterone bottoms out in men, that's the protective factors, as well as DHEA, pregnenolone. Estradiol is very protective in women and also in men. But again, that's when it really affects. So that's why we have to know our status and then take advantage of the right diet. If you have it, you don't have to go down that road toward Alzheimer's. That's the important thing about it. We can literally prevent it with intermittent fasting, exercise, good, well-oxygenated sleep, but most important, the healthy keto diet. That is the key if you have the gene. Now, if you don't have the gene, you can do the healthy Mediterranean diet. But if you have the gene, I think intermittent fasting is one of the most powerful things we can do in order to prevent that gene from expressing itself. And we need to fast for about 16 hours a night, ideally.
Ideally. And so I actually did, for the longest time, wasn't sure if I wanted to know whether I had the gene, because at the time I thought, well, I don't want to know I'm going to get Alzheimer's because there's nothing you can do about it. But actually the opposite is true. It's important to learn. And I took the 23andMe test, and it came back where I had one of the genes. So I have ApoE3 and ApoE4, which means my risk has elevated up to 30%.
30%.
And if you have both of them, it's more like into the 70s. So you're more likely than not.
Yes, you're right.
To get it.
It's really high. Correct.
And so when I got the 23andMe test, then I went to my doctor and had another genetic test, and that showed the same thing too. So this has been a lifesaver for me. I've been on this type of thing for a long time, and at first when I was told that intermittent fasting for 18 hours a day is ideal if you have one or both of the genes. And I was like, oh, 18 hours a day? That means I can only eat 6 hours a day. But actually, it hasn't been that bad.
It's not. As long as you can have tea with stevia or monk fruit in there, which is fine. You're still in the fasting zone, see? So it's great. So
talk about why fasting is so good, especially for the brain and for prevention of Alzheimer's symptoms.
Well, when you're fasting, especially when you go over that 14 hours, and ideal is 16 to 18. You're right. If you have the double mutation, the ApoE4/4, But what it does, number one, it lowers your insulin levels. It starts to reverse insulin resistance. Number two, it lowers inflammation. These are two root causes of Alzheimer's besides having the gene. And then really important, it starts to go, your brain undergoes a condition we call autophagy, where we start self-cleaning and we start to clear out beta amyloid, that plaque and tangles associated with Alzheimer's. So we start to clear that, as well as we boost this powerful hormone or growth factor called brain-derived neurotrophic factor when we're fasting. So we're getting these tremendous benefits, and our body literally starts to recycle old components, mitochondria, old cells and proteins, and recycle the components to make new mitochondria and new proteins so that our mitochondria are producing more ATP, more energy, so our brain literally starts to improve. We start to see improved memory, improved focus, improved attention span, and improved brain energy. That's the major thing we find. So these are so important. And then to give the brain the right nutrition is so important. The right hormones is a combination like vitamin D. Vitamin D is critical for the brain. It helps to turn on over 900 genes. It helps to create and maintain the synapses in the brain, which also, so does DHA. In fact, the main omega-3 fat in the brain is DHA, over 90%. And yet, most people don't take any DHA supplements, DHA dominant supplements. So it's critically important, as well as curcumin. Curcumin actually enables our brain to break down that beta amyloid. So I encourage my patients to take curcumin throughout the day. The more the better. Or sprinkle curcumin on your food. And cinnamon. Cinnamon is amazing, especially the Ceylon cinnamon, because it actually boosts that brain-derived neurotrophic factor also.
So it's incredible to me how huge of a factor diet is, and fasting, which is sort of like diet also. But then you also talk about other things that really impact your risk of developing Alzheimer's, and that's exercise. Talk about what we should be doing. What's the best anti-Alzheimer's exercise regime?
Well, I would say a combination of both aerobic exercise, just brisk walking, walk fast enough so that you can't sing. If you're singing, you're walking too slow, and then walk slow enough so that you can talk. So brisk walking is ideal, as well as weight training. The more muscle we build, generally the more brain-derived neurotrophic factor we produce. So a combination of both aerobic and anaerobic exercise is wonderful for the brain, as well as boosting those key hormones. It is amazing how important testosterone is for both men and women. Now, estrogen, I'm real cautious with estrogen because we see so much breast cancer, but testosterone literally protects the brain, the breast, the bones, and the muscles. So it's absolutely a home run. Why? Because it literally prevents those neurons from degenerating. It literally repairs the brain cells, the neurons, and it boosts brain-derived neurotrophic factor. So when you combine that, the testosterone with some DHEA, just a small amount in women, maybe 10 milligrams, a little bit of pregnenolone, maybe 25, check your levels, maybe 50.
Have you been in my bathroom?
No,
this
but
is exactly what I have on my bathroom shelf.
But these are critical because they literally repair these neurons and prevent shrinkage of the brain neurons. That's why we see so much Alzheimer's after age 50, especially after 55. It's like a black diamond slope because the brain is starving for these adrenal hormones and these sex hormones that literally protect the brain. They're more protective than most any other nutrient.
Yeah. So now I had my hormones checked, and it was a disaster.
Sure, I see that all the time.
But so now I'm on the DHEA.
Very good.
I do the testosterone cream behind my knee every morning, the pregnenolone and a bunch of them, and the homocysteine, and it's great. And if this is overwhelming for you, don't be. It's all spelled out here. We
Make
can't
it
get
simple,
to
right?
I know we can't get to everything,
but
it's all in
homocysteine
here.
is critical.
Yeah.
We need to talk about that because I checked on everyone with any memory loss because unfortunately the labs, their normal range, many of them are 0 to 19.2.
Wow.
If it's over 10 and you don't have the Alzheimer's gene, it's way too high and your brain's in an inflammatory and usually a degenerating state. But if you have the Alzheimer's gene, you have to get it below 7. And you got to be careful with coffee.
It can be done. It can be done.
It's easy.
Yeah, we're going to take a quick break and be right back with Dr. Colbert. The book is Dr. Colbert's Healthy Brain Zone, and we're going to show you some of his recommended recipes when we return. This is going to be a treat. Stay with us. Welcome back to Healthy Living, and we are discussing ways to prevent Alzheimer's disease and even reverse the symptoms in some cases. I'm speaking with Dr. Don Colbert. The book is Don Colbert's Healthy Brain Zone, and you were talking before the break about how diet is so important, the intermittent fasting,
Yes.
and then when you are eating, we should be eating certain types of food, and we should be avoiding sugar most of all, right?
Correct. Now, if a person has the Alzheimer's gene, either the ApoE3, 4 or the 4, they should be following a healthy keto diet. Is the healthiest program.
Keto.
Healthy keto. Now, that's in this book, the Healthy Brain Zone. It's also in my book, Beyond Keto, because over 95% of keto diets are not healthy for the brain.
That's
the more
a good
saturated fat, it actually inflames the brain due to the increase in lipopolysaccharides that create tremendous inflammation in the body, the gut, and the brain. So the healthy keto diet has lots of healthy fats. That is the key, usually 60 to 75% healthy fats in the form of olive oil, extra virgin, high polyphenol olive oil, or high phenolic olive oil, as well as avocado oil, cold pressed, lots of seeds, lots of nuts, lots of avocados, as well as moderation in protein, 15 to 25%, and real low carbs. Only like 5% of your intake, calorie intake should be carbohydrates, because those degenerate the brain, inflame the brain.
So a lot of people are like, no, you're telling me not to eat my favorite foods, but look at this. This is all part of your plan, and this food looks absolutely spectacular.
Well, these are high, healthy fat foods that's so brain friendly. Realize the brain is about 60 to 70% fat. So the more fat we can consume, the more energy and the more fullness and satiety we're going to have for as long as 8 hours. So that's why you only need 2 meals a day when you eat all these healthy fats.
And so this is really, 2 of these dishes are sort of
this is
for breakfast.
Correct.
But you can eat this anytime during the day. What are these?
Well, this is the healthy scramble with pastured organic eggs, a little bit of grass-fed ghee, which is just a little. You don't want much because it's got too much saturated fat, so maybe just a half teaspoon or less, as well as lots of avocado oil and or olive oil. I love avocado oil to cook with. It's got a high smoke point of 570 degrees, so you're not going to denature the fats. So those are healthy, as well as veggies, lots of veggies. Most keto diets are not healthy because they don't have enough veggies or enough fiber or enough fish oil, which is critical for the brain. So this has broccoli, it has some sweet potatoes. You get a little bit you need some carbs, but not a lot, as well as onions and mushrooms. But again, it's those healthy oils. And then you get your berries, raspberries, but blueberries especially are so good for the brain. That's what I had this morning for breakfast, is blueberries in my oatmeal, just a little oatmeal.
Yummy. And so what is this?
This is a frittata, and the frittata has, again, those pastured organic eggs, and then it also has those veggies in it. It has some kale and some spinach, organic, of course, and then it also has your olives and your onions and mushrooms and feta cheese and the olive oil and or avocado oil. You got to have lots of those oils. Those are real important for the brain, and it keeps you satisfied for 6 to 8 hours many times.
And this looks like a really hearty soup.
Yes, this is a chicken soup without the noodles, because the noodles are high in carbs, so it has lots of oil in the form of olive oil or avocado oil, and it's got the mushrooms and it's got the parsley, but you can use cilantro, is wonderful. Pastured organic chicken in it, and all the veggies. Look at the broccoli, look at the onions, the mushrooms. It's a delicious soup, and you could use parsley and or cilantro. I love the cilantro even better.
Me too. So you were talking about fish oil and healthy protein, and I see some salmon here.
But this isn't just salmon. Most salmon is farm-raised. When you eat farm-raised salmon, remember, these are fish packed in these, it's out in the sea, but it's in pens. So they're full of pesticides, antibiotics, and they have their own waste material. So there's so many toxins in farm-raised fish. You want wild salmon, like Alaskan salmon is what I eat. You have the Bibb lettuce, you have the avocados with lime or lemon, and you have the spices and Himalayan salt. You can put on there, some people use some, oregano or thyme or rosemary on there, which is delicious. So I love these lettuce wrap salmon, which is so healthy for you.
So very satisfying and great for the brain. All right, we're going to take another break and be right back with Dr. Don Colbert. The book is called Don Colbert's Healthy Brain Zone. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back, and we are continuing our discussion with Dr. Don Colbert, author of Don Colbert's Healthy Brain Zone, Reverse Memory Loss and Reduce Your Risk of Dementia and Alzheimer's. And so we're talking, Dr. Colbert, about an anti-Alzheimer's diet, if you will, one that's high in healthy fats and
or
low...
healthy keto diet.
Right,
Correct.
and so we want to stay away from with the keto, we want to stay away from the bacon and the steak and all the things
butter and all the cheese and all. You know, dairy is highly inflammatory, yet most keto diets, over 95%, are unhealthy because they use slabs of bacon, lots of steak, lots of meat that's highly inflammatory, and it has tons of toxins in it, as well as a lot of dairy. And dairy is highly inflammatory to most of my patients that I see.
So not all keto diets are alike.
Now, you can do a short term, but this is one you can follow the rest of your life.
Right, and so this has the healthy fats. And so talk about what we have here. It looks so delicious.
This is a healthy pizza, and as a pizza crust, you can use coconut flour, or you can use cauliflower flour, which it makes a wonderful pizza. And then, of course, put the olive oil and or avocado oil, lots of that in there, as well as low sugar tomato paste or tomato sauce. And then add your toppings, which I have on this pizza, lots of healthy veggies, lots of olives. You can put broccoli, peppers, onions, artichoke hearts, all that you want, like I say, and then your feta cheese instead of, remember, dairy's inflammatory. Inflammation's at the root of most Alzheimer's, so goat or feta cheese is a healthy cheese. Now, yes, it has some saturated fat, so you don't want to put tons of it on there, but again, as long as you keep your saturated fats less than 10% of your diet, you're safe.
All right, and then what about this dish?
Oh, this is delicious. This is your macadamia tilapia, which is a wild tilapia. Again, don't choose your farm-raised fish. This is one of the biggest things I have to teach patients. Remember, these are swarms of fish out in the ocean, penned in, so all their waste products are right there. They feed them lots of pesticides, lots of antibiotics, because these are sick fish. And for the salmon, they put dye in the salmon to make them pink. But with the tilapia, they don't put the dye in there, but it's just full of toxins. So this is wild tilapia, and it's got macadamia crust, so you can actually make a wonderful crusting that's like it's fried, but it's baked in the oven with macadamia, chopped macadamia nuts, as well as your spices, your oregano and your thyme, and you can put a little garlic on there, and then some Himalayan sea salt. And then you have your veggies, and then you can either have cauliflower rice or a little bit of rice, not much, because it'll throw your, but again, if you do have rice, pour olive oil on it. Pour avocado oil. Because how much? A tablespoon or two? On my salads, I'll put like 4 to 5 tablespoons of high polyphenol olive oil on my salads or on my rice.
A lot of people are worried about the calories in that much olive oil.
You're only going to be eating usually 2 meals a day. And even though you'll have 120 calories per tablespoon, it's the sugar, the carbs, and starches that raises your insulin level that triggers the weight gain, and not the fats. You may have 10 tablespoons of fats, but you'll lose weight on this program.
And so what about this gorgeous salad?
Again, healthy salad, lots of green veggies, lots of either romaine or arugula is really good, or spinach or kale, as well as you have your avocados, you have your olive oil. If you want to put apple cider vinegar, it's fine, onions and tomatoes and mushrooms. The more veggies, the better. But just use a lot of that olive oil, and I keep saying high polyphenol, because polyphenols are so powerful. They help protect your arteries, your brain, your heart, your entire circulation is so, it benefits so much from these high polyphenol olive oils.
And how do you know, if you're at the grocery store, there's a whole aisle full of olive oil, how do you know which one is high polyphenol?
Well, again, you have to go online usually and look under the high polyphenol olive oils. Like Hermes is a good brand, Desert Miracle, there's others that are good brands. So just look and find a good high polyphenol, or regular organic extra virgin olive oil is still really good. I just prefer the high polyphenols, but any kind of organic extra virgin is generally good.
And so all of these incredible dishes are in the book, Dr. Colbert's Healthy Brain Zone. And, you know, a lot of people are wondering, you keep talking about healthy oils, you keep talking about avocado oil and olive oil. So what about vegetable oil? I mean, people have a lot of oils in their house. What about Crisco or vegetable oil or canola oil? They market canola oil like that's the healthy oil.
These are highly inflammatory oils. oils that I discussed, and that's one of the reasons it's pushing America toward Alzheimer's, because these oils create inflammation in the body and in the brain and in the arteries especially. So any oil that's heated too, your French fries, your fried chicken, your potato chips, your tortilla chips, these are deep fried in these usually polyunsaturated oils that make them super damaging to the body and more inflammatory to the body and the brain. So, but canola oil is also a very bad oil that's genetically modified and wreaks havoc and inflammation on the body. And so, even excessive saturated fats create inflammation by boosting lipopolysaccharides, which those carry the saturated fats and inflame the gut. And there's a gut-brain connection and so whatever inflames the gut inflames the brain. They're connected.
All right. We're going to take one final break and be right back with Dr. Don Colbert. The book is Healthy Brain Zone. Stay with us. Welcome back to Healthy Living. We are talking with Dr. Don Colbert. The book is Dr. Colbert's Healthy Brain Zone. I highly recommend it. We really didn't get into all the details, and it's so important. We really just scratched the surface. Where can people find out about the book? Where can they get it? And also find out more about you?
Well, again, they can go to our website at Dr. Colbert, drcolbert, COLBERT.com, or divinehealth.com. Or they can go to most every bookstore. It's in most every bookstore. And I have podcasts at drcolbert.com. We have a YouTube channel and Rumble. So we're putting all this information, as well as the natural answers to every disease, on YouTube, so that they can literally get the answers for themselves, the right lifestyle, the right diet, the right nutraceuticals, and the right spiritual keys for their disease.
Amen. Absolutely. Well, thank you, Dr. Colbert, for doing such a magnificent job. I really would encourage everyone to get a copy of the book and to read it, because even people who don't have one of the Alzheimer's genes can still get it. They have like a 7 or 8% increase risk. But anyway, it was a pleasure to have you today. Thank you so much for being here, and God bless you.
God bless you too, and thanks.
And thanks to you for joining us for this edition of Healthy Living. I'm Lori Johnson, and we'll see you again next time.